Okay, here it is, Steve. Here we are. We're back. And again, my name's Steve, and this is take two. Unfortunately, for some other reason, I did the original video, the take one, and it uploaded, and things seemed to be going well, and then it crapped out later on towards the end in regards to audio, I think. And I've tried to play it back, and a lot of problems. So we're going to redo this video. So this is take two. As you can see here, retired in Korea, buying real estate in Korea. Know what you're talking about, please. If you're giving people advice, and this is gonna be a condensed version because the last video was like an hour long. And it's probably a bit too much for people. So recently, I was on a page, and it ends up that somebody was asking, "Hey, can we buy property here in Korea? Whether it's land or real estate, they're particularly interested in land." And yeah, so since I am retired in Korea, and since we have bought property in Korea, and we know the process in which residents and non-residents in Korea can buy property, even as an American citizen or somebody who's a Korean citizen, or things of that nature, because we just did that. Sharing our experiences and the facts of how to do and the process of how to do that comes in very handy when somebody who doesn't know asks the question, is this possible? So we're going to go over this information a little bit, and boom, here we are. So we're on this page here, and this person says they have a GS job offer at Osan Air Base, which is congratulations. That is awesome. It says the wife is a Korean citizen and she's a naturalized American citizen. Exact same thing with my wife. She was born and raised in Korea, got married to me. We went to the States. She became naturalized, and yeah. So he says, I understand the F4 visa thing, which my wife has, and I know she won't need to apply for it as long as he has SOFA status, which is absolutely true. It's an A3 visa, and his wife will be covered under that A3 visa. So here he says, the question I have is, will my wife be able to buy land in Korea without establishing her F4 visa? And the answer is yes, she can. You can buy property on a tourist visa. Matter of fact, after going through this rigmarole with this guy named Rodney, and we'll get to him a little bit later, and doing some digging, I found out you can be like, if I was in the United States and not in Korea, I could buy property and not set foot in Korea and buy property. It's a thing. And apparently people do that. People in the United States, China, other countries will buy property sight unseen. In other words, they don't set foot into Korea and they buy properties. So that's a thing that happens in the world, and it's entirely doable, and apparently a lot of people do it. So anyway, he says, I'm not talking about condos or apartments. He's talking about actual land acquisition. So buying land, and obviously is either an investment or land that he wants to build a property on or build a house on or whatever. And the answer is yes, absolutely, you can. There are some considerations that come into play, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But basically, if it's like near a military base, if it's near a cultural center or conservation area, there's some rules and regulations and things you can and can't do. But for the most part, if there's land for sale, property, we'll just call it property for sale, and there's a Korean realtor and it's a listing, then you as a non-resident or your wife as a used to be resident or citizen of Korea who's now a naturalized citizen of the United States, she can buy it or you can buy it. I bought our apartment here. It's in my name, and we actually showed up to Korea on a tourist visa. We found a property that we liked. We put in, there was a contract. We put in an offer. We put down a deposit, and then what we ended up doing is during that time period, the seller said, "Yeah, okay, we can do this. Yeah, and they were motivated sellers. And this was in October, November, whatever it was. No, it was December afterwards. It was after we got our R card, but we put in an offer and a contract when we were on a tourist visa, which our realtor said you can buy property on a tourist visa, and informed us of all this information. And of course, I ran this information by our immigration lawyer because we had submitted our F4 and F1 visas, and we were waiting on approval for those. But either way, the realtor said, hey, he's experienced in selling to foreigners. It doesn't matter if it's a tourist visa. It doesn't matter if it's F1, F4. Hell, you don't even have to be in Korea and you can buy property in Korea. You know, if you see the pictures online or have somebody FaceTime the property and you like it and you have the money and you want to buy it, boom, you can buy that property. So yeah, she doesn't have to establish an F4 visa, especially if she is covered under this SOFA agreement of a government service position like this guy is. So we're going to take a look, and this is what I ended up saying. Yes, foreigners can buy land on properties land. Even if they are just on tourist visa, you or your wife can buy the property here in Korea. Just find a Korean realtor that's experienced selling to foreigners. It's a thing. Imagine that. Getting somebody who knows what they're supposed to do for the thing that you want to do, that's kind of the way to go. Here's a link that discusses more details, which actually goes in and talks about the property buying process. And I guess let's take a look at that. We might as well. To show you what it is. And looking to buy property in Korea, this is pretty much cut and paste on what you'll see on Korean websites, Korean law blogs. Can foreigners buy property? Absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's residential, commercial, land. You can buy property with, some things that you can't buy, as we mentioned. Basically, it comes down to these things: the Foreigners Land Acquisition Act, the Registration Real Estate Act, Foreign Exchange Transaction Act, and basically you sign a contract. You go into a contract, say, yes, I want to buy this property. You put down a deposit. You have to get permission from basically the Korean government, and they will check to see if, you can do that or not. You need to get permission. But 99.9% of the time, they will say yes, because obviously if you have the money and or the financing, and obviously if you're here in Korea, you're on a valid visa. So, yeah, there's that. So it talks about this, and again, protected areas you can't buy, like where the military operates, cultural properties with heritage values, kind of similar into what we have in the United States. Conservation areas to protect nature or ecosystems, or the spotted owl of whatever, kind of like what we have in the U.S. But yeah, pretty much it kind of breaks it down. So anyway, it ends up give that information and saying, hey, because we bought property here in Korea, so we know the process because we went through it about a year ago. We checked on it with our real estate agent because we're thinking about buying another apartment, buying more property, and nothing has changed as far as I know. And so this guy, Rodney Sanders, says, go to your local immigration office. Why is he addressing this to me? I have no idea, because I've already bought property in Korea. So I'm not, it just kind of like, why are you telling me to go to the immigration office? I've already bought property. The apartment's in my name. It's a done deal. And yeah, so then there's this rigmarole, this drama that comes out. Because you don't need to go to the immigration office. There's a number of websites that if you go and check, and it'll tell you kind of like this here: buying property in South Korea. This is from englishsold.go.kr about housing, foreign nationals, non-residing foreigners, how you can buy property. Again, can you purchase property? Yes, you can. Again, going over that same information on the Land Registration Act. Here's another from the Korean Law Blog, which is another website that I looked at to verify. And of course, I also asked the Korean realtor and the lawyer, and also contacted our immigration lawyer about this and buying property, because being the military guy that I was, wanted to cross the T's, dot the I's, know what I'm coming up against, what the process is. And yeah, it's a thing, and you don't have to go to immigration. There's no reason for you to go to immigration if you're here legally in Korea on a visa, whether it's tourist or A3 or F or D, E, F, G, whatever those visas are. Hell, you don't even have to be in Korea to buy property. And so you don't need to go to an immigration office. So you go through here, and again, this is talking about resident foreigners, for those in visas, non-resident foreigners. But again, if you go through all this information and you don't see anything that talks about going to immigration, or that immigration is a source of credible or useful information when buying property here in Korea. So yeah, that was the thing going on. It was kind of boggled my mind because I'm like, no, that's not really a thing. And my wife's Korean, speaks Korean. She grew up here in Korea, and she talked to the realtors. And then there's my wife's family who, verified that the realtor was good, and so on and so forth. But yeah, you don't need to go to immigration. So I asked this guy, Rodney, why. The immigration office has nothing to do with buying real estate in Korea. There's no reason for anybody, if you're buying real estate in Korea, to go to an immigration office. In other words, you do the contract, you put down the deposit, you fill out a stack of paperwork that the realtor puts in front of you for, getting permission to buy property in Korea, for the registration, for this, for that. We never left the realtor's office. Boom, there it all was. Well, I take that back. There was one thing where we had to go to a city office, kind of like in the United States, a county clerk's office, where we had to get a certified copy of our entrance into Korea. So it's a page that shows, when you came into Korea, how long your stay is for, and, when you left, and, for like the last 10 years. So there was that. And that just goes in the pile, and then they take a copy of your passport, or they take, actually they did both. If you have your alien registration card, in other words, our F1 and F4 visas got approved, they took and did a copy front and back of that, along with our passport, had everything we signed, dated, stamped, boom, gave it to the realtor. The realtor took it. The Korean lawyer did his thing, or actually her thing, put some papers in there, looked over things, stamped, certified, whatever, and then sent it off. And lo and behold, our request to purchase property got approved, okay? And we were buying our property outright. So it went a little bit quicker for us because we had the cash on hand and we weren't financing the property. So so that's when I told this guy and said, why? The immigration office has nothing to do with real estate in Korea. There's no reason to go. They're not going to have like a special secret packet of information of, this is what you need to know, and no one else knows this but us at the immigration office. No, that's not a thing. And he says, but buying property for a foreigner is tied to Korean immigration law. They're going to verify that you're in Korea legally. That's why you have a copy of your passport, and the real estate agent is going to sign, and then the Korean lawyer is going to be there, and they're going to verify and say, yes, this is, and they make copies, and that gets sent in and it gets verified. So to check that it's not a fraudulent passport or a fraudulent ARC card, alien registration card. But you don't have to go to Korean immigration for anything. So, I talk about, you can be on a tourist visa and do this. I talked about our situation, how we did the contract, what I just told you and all that. The realtor, it's all, there's been an increase in foreigners buying real estate from China, buying Korean properties and other countries overseas on tourist visas or any other type of visa. It doesn't really matter, but you don't need to go to immigration. And that's where I said, yes, that's true. And it's connected to immigration to make sure that you have an approved visa, whatever the visa is, even if it's just a 90-day tourist visa, which is what we use. So in other words, the United States has an agreement with the Korean government that we can pop over here to Korea for up to 90 days, and you don't have to apply for a visa. But you're here under a tourist visa thing. Okay, that's the thing. As long as you have your passport and, you're good to go. So, so you're telling somebody to go to, he's saying, I didn't say you had to go to immigration. Well, wait a second. You said go to your local immigration office. That's exactly what he said, was go to a Korean immigration office. So now he's tap dancing. And he says, I said you could find out the regulations behind land or property ownership there. That is absolutely not true. The Korean immigration is for immigration purposes. If you want to talk about land acquisition and property ownership, you're going to have to go to a local office, kind of like a county clerk's office like we have in the United States. You do not go to an immigration office. There's not an immigration office in every single town and city in Korea. There's only a certain number of immigration offices, and the closest one here to Camp Humphreys is in Songtan, which is close to Osan Air Base. And our immigration lawyer actually is in the same building as the Korean immigration office that is there. And of course, as I said before, I talked to our Korean immigration lawyer and asked, is there anything that they had to do when it comes to us buying real estate or property in Korea? And they're like, no, immigration has nothing to do with it. We don't have to go to immigration for that. Just get with your realtor and they will do everything for you. That'll be it. So yeah, he's stuck on stupid on this thing, saying, "Hey, they'll find out the regulations of land and property ownership there." No, they won't. They won't. They won't. Honestly. So anyway, it goes on. It's you can't be in Korea with some type of visa, stating the obvious. Imagine that. Anyway, people don't have to go to a Korean immigration office to buy land or property. And because the Korean realtor is going to do all that stuff. They're going to verify the property. They're going to verify the ownership and the title issues, and if there are any, and so on and so forth. If there's liens against the property, that is the job of the Korean realtor and the Korean real estate lawyer that you will have acting on your behalf. They will tell you to contact a Korean realtor. I know this because I asked our Korean immigration lawyer and also asked the Korean realtor as well. And I said, if you give advice, make sure it's correct. That's all we're doing. Why would you add and tell somebody to make an unnecessary trip when it's not needed, especially when they don't deal with that information at all? And then he says, all I said was immigration could provide you the info. No, they can't. By the way, and here's the appeal to authority. I lived in Korea for 15 years, and the ability for foreigners to buy property is still tied to their immigration immigration law. And there is misspelled, but we won't harp on that. And here's where it ends up. No, you didn't say that. See the pic. Go to your local immigration office. And it's funny how you have somebody who posts proof, somebody who's gone through the actual process, somebody who's actually verified the information with a Korean realtor and a Korean real estate lawyer who has actually bought property in my name within the last year. And you don't need to go to immigration. I'm telling you, it would be a wasted trip. And like I said, the closest immigration office is in Songtan, which is about a 20, 30, maybe a 40-minute ride, depending on how you go there, bus, taxi, rent a car, whatever it is. You will get there and you will hit the little machine and it will give you a number and you'll wait 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it is, depending on how busy they are. And you'll get up there and you'll say, hey, I want information on how to buy real estate in Korea. I want information on, what did he say, land acquisition and blah, blah, blah. And the Korean immigration office is going to say, yeah, we don't do that here. Go talk to a realtor. Go to the city office and you can find information about who owns what. It's basically kind of, seeing who owns what, but still, that's not your job, and it's not going to make the process go any further. It's not going to make it go any faster. It's not going to make it more efficient, because that's the realtor, the agent's job. That's the real estate lawyer's job. You just sign papers, stamp, put down a deposit, and as soon as you get permission from the Korean government that you can buy that property, as a resident or a non-resident, doesn't really matter, you don't need to go to immigration. They don't hold any special information that will make this process go faster or smoother. So anyway, and then I said, by the way, the number of years a person has been in Korea doesn't mean you're right. So if a person had been in Korea for 20 years, does that mean that person is right and you're wrong? Of course not. What matters are the facts. So, and then that's when Rodney ends up, and that's a little picture of Rodney there. He's retired. No more Kool-Aid. Well, you drank Kool-Aid, Rodney. I'm telling you right now, because what you're putting out is wrong. He says, bye, enjoy your day. And so I kind of poked the bear a little bit. I said, I will enjoy my day. No offense, but when was the last time you bought property in Korea? Now, this was an honest question because I was like, you know what? It's been a year since I bought my apartment. And like I said, I did it within the last year. So far, nothing changed, and we're thinking about and talk to realtors about buying another apartment. That's neither here nor there. But so far, to my knowledge, nothing has changed. So maybe something did, but I'm pretty sure it didn't. I'm about 99.999% sure that nothing has changed. But telling people to go to places that cannot help seems meaningless, hence the correction on what someone should actually do. I guess we agree to disagree. Have a good week. And to which Rodney says, whatever. You know, here's the guy who here's the guy who right there, if you could see that, let me make myself a wee bit smaller and we'll show you this. This is Rodney. He's never bought property in Korea. I don't know the steps of how to buy property in Korea, but what I'm going to end up doing, see if we can get this a little bit, but I'm going to tell you to go to Korean immigration. I'm going to tell you to go to Korean immigration. It's just like, seriously, really, that's what we're doing. We're talking about going to Korean immigration. Come on, Rodney, really? This is Rodney in a nutshell. And we'll see it. So let's go back to this. It's just absolutely crazy. He says, yeah, whatever. I'm sure you can get the info at either. No, you actually can't get the information at either. A local realtor may be fine, maybe, but there are also a lot of shady realtors that prey on foreigners. How many realtors have you dealt with, Mr. Rodney Sanders? How many have you talked to? How many properties have you bought? And that's where it's, I say a local realtor may be fine. And as opposed to what? A realtor from another country? I mean, you got to use a Korean realtor. And any reasonable and sane person would use a well and highly rated realtor. Kind of like what you do in the United States. You know, you do your due diligence. So I said, bro, tell me this is a joke. And so you do know that you can't buy property without a Korean realtor and a Korean lawyer, right? Because that's a thing. And then I ended with, by the way, when did you last buy property in Korea? Now, that's an honest question because, he forgot to answer the question. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something. Maybe he just recently purchased property here in Korea in the last week or so, and the information that I'm giving is outdated. That's a possibility. And lo and behold, what do we see here? Only rented, but I looked into buying. You take care. This issue is not really worth my time, but appreciate your insights. It's worth the time to give the correct information to the person who asked the question. I mean, that's their time is important. The quality of the information that you give is important because you don't want that other person to waste time. I don't know. What are the odds of that? Sending somebody to an office that they don't have the information that you're claiming that they have, but he's only rented. He looked into buying, but that's very subjective. And obviously, whatever information that he got from somebody, they told him to go to the immigration office about buying real estate in Korea. Yeah, that person, if that's true, and somebody told him that person's ignorant as well. He appreciates my insights, and so my response is, you never bought property. What a surprise. So I go through, and here's the steps, contract, blah, blah, blah. You go through all this stuff. Investinkorea.org, I put a website of a verifiable and factual resource. And again, there's nothing about you having to go to immigration to get any documents. You don't have to go to immigration to do anything or ask them. You go to your realtor to ask about things like buying real estate in Korea. You go to a realtor. Kind of like, would you go to immigration in the United States to buy real estate in the United States? No, you don't. You absolutely don't. I've owned over 17 properties, investment properties. Well, 16 investment properties, one of my own properties, and then we had a total in the family business, which was like 30, 45 properties, something like that. But that's neither here nor there. But there's people that we worked with, other investors that were foreigners from other countries that brought properties in the United States, and they didn't have to go to immigration. So I'm not sure where this whole go to immigration to buy property came from. Maybe it's in an alternate universe. Maybe it's the Marvel Comics thing and something. So Rodney says, I really don't care. I mentioned immigration as a resource for information, not a sole source, just a source. The problem is, Rodney, it's not a source at all because they will tell you, go see a realtor. There is no information that a Korean immigration office, it would be a wasted trip. You got to buy a taxi, you got to go a bus, got to rent a car, whatever it is, drive, buy gas there and back. That would be a totally wasted trip of going to a Korean immigration office, getting a ticket, waiting and saying, hey, I want to find out how to buy property in Korea. They will look at you like a stupid foreigner because you're stupid and tell you to go see a Korean realtor. If you feel you have beaten me or proved me wrong, well, congratulations. It's not about me proving or beating you. It's factual information, giving information that has been verified through realtors, Korean lawyers, somebody who's actually went through the buying process and bought property here in Korea, sharing their experiences, and then posting links and information of government sites showing how it works and what you should do, and none of them say you need to go to a Korean immigration office. So he says, you're not the first and more than likely not the last. So obviously, what we see, by Rodney's own admission, there's a lot of people that have come against him for whatever information that he's put out, saying, hey, obviously you're wrong. And he says it probably won't be the last. So what that tells me is he is reveling in ignorance instead of being open to correction. And it seems like he's an older guy. He says, please drop by the MCSS and pick up an AAM. For those of you, that's AAM is an Army Achievement Medal. MCSS, I don't really care, don't know. You deserve it, big guy. You can just feel the sarcasm dripping off of that comment. And to I replied, it's obvious you don't care. You tell people to do things that they don't need to do and didn't provide any pertinent or verified facts. And then I told him, I said, you got to be one of those guys that has to have the last words. And he says, yeah, how observant. Thank you for that. So this is Rodney. This is the dude here. And yeah. The number of years that you spend in Korea does not make you right. The number of years that you served in the military overseas in Korea does not make you right. What makes you right is information that is correct and verified. I've already posted all this. And if we go and we actually take a look at, buying property in South Korea, if you go to the websites about how do you buy it? And, for residents and non-resident foreigners and so on and so forth. And you'll get the same information here talking about non-residents and, registration application, registration certificate once you get approved to buy the property, certified copy of property registration, which you have to do 60 days after, the close of the contract or, paying off the property or, funding or financing has been accepted. You got to do that within 60 days and all that stuff. So, there's all of this information, and none of it tells any foreigner or resident or non-resident that they need to go to immigration. None. Foreigners can buy property in Korean This is from Korean Law Blog, which is a very reliable and trusted source, and they will tell you the same thing. As a resident foreigner or a non-resident foreigner, and you can go through this information, and it says nothing about going to immigration to get as any type of source. Nothing. Zip zero. It talks about, some of the added costs and taxes. So like if we go and we check out this place here, as an example, this is on Naver. You can use, Chrome, and it has the translation. It has a translation plugin. So this normally is usually all in Korean, but it's translated into English. It will show you the information, the layout, what floor, what is covered with a management fee. And you will see this whether it's a house, a villa, or an apartment, or condo. They don't do condos here, Rodney. It's just... For somebody who's lived in Korea 15 years, supposedly, if you don't know that they don't have condos, I mean, the majority of people live in apartments. So, yeah, condo isn't really a term here in Korea. I mean, they use it sometimes, but it's mostly apartments. But if you go down here to the brokerage fees and tax information, it'll talk about the VAT tax. It'll talk about the acquisition tax, local education tax, special tax for rural areas. It'll give a total of that, property taxes, local education tax, urban areas, all that stuff. You can find all this information, and you can find a real good certified real estate agent. And real estate agents in Korea have ratings for their performance, and ratings are very important, because they give factual information. If they give the wrong information, or if they screw their clients over, that can mean their license is kaput. So, yeah, it's... I'm just amazed. Somebody who's never bought property in Korea, who hasn't been through the process of buying property in Korea as a foreigner, who's only rented in Korea, and who says, oh, I lived in Korea for 15 years. Well, it seems like you were in the military for many of those years. That doesn't mean you know anything about buying property in Korea, which is obviously the case. You're ignorant on what is entailed and what the process is and where you need to go and what you need to do. Like I said, you could be a tourist on a 90-day tourist visa, which really isn't a visa at all. If you have reciprocity like with the United States, I just need to show my passport and I can buy property here in Korea. I can be on a visa like our F1 and F4 visa, or you could be on an educational visa or a work visa or whatever type of visa there is. You can buy property in Korea. And then the piece de resistance is that you can be in a foreign country, not set foot in Korea, and you can buy property as a foreigner here in Korea. But guess what? You're not going to call the immigration office to get information as a source of information because it's not a thing. Just like it's not a thing before, it's not a thing there. But what you will need is a trusted and valuable Korean realtor, and you'll also get a Korean real estate lawyer as part of the closing process. But yeah, to say go to Korean immigration is absolutely idiotic. It is ignorant, and obviously Rodney is stuck on stupid, to even suggest that. And he didn't even tell the other person who actually posted the information. He said that I needed to go to the immigration office. So I don't know, maybe he's having a senior moment, a little dementia kind of stirred up in his brain a little bit. But regardless, and I showed this to my wife. And she's like, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. By the way, my wife is Korean. Her family Korean, and they live in Korea. And, we verified all the information with them and with the Korean realtor, and they checked and double checked, and we checked, and we asked Korean immigration, and Korean immigration says, no, we don't. Our Korean immigration lawyer said there's nothing to do with immigration when you are buying property in Korea. Yes, they will verify that you are in Korea legally, but you don't have to go to Korean immigration. There is zero information that you will glean from the Korean immigration office, which is in our case is like, 20, 30, 40 minutes away, depending on traffic, it's a needless step. You don't have to go do it. So, yeah. And this is a case. You need to trust but verify information. That's what I learned in the military. People can say stuff, they can bump their gums all day long, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, you need to verify the information because you don't want to be like Rodney, I never bought property in Korea, and I don't know how the steps of how to buy property, but I'm telling you to go to Korean immigration to get it as a source of information. As somebody who's bought property in Korea, yeah, Rodney, you're telling people to do stupid, and that's not appreciated. As an expat living in Korea, and especially as one like you who has been here for so long, you would think factual information would be more helpful. But no, he's just kind of, I've never bought property in my life. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't, doesn't. It's sad. So yeah, you got to be careful to who you listen to, and that's why I'm so big on posting information. That's why I like posting, government sources. That's why I like posting from the Korean Law Blog. They're really, really reliable in their information. And of course, all the other websites, the expat sites, how to buy property in Korea, and so on and so forth. Excuse me. They all mirror the same thing. Not one of them recommends going to a Korean immigration office to get information as a source of information for buying property in Korea. You don't have to go. You don't have to do it. There's absolutely no reason to go because your realtor is going to do all of that. They will have copy of your passport and or your alien registration card, in other words, the visa that you're on, that has been approved to make sure that those things are not fraudulent. And if you get approved, boom, that's it. Yeah, Korean immigration is going to verify that you're here legally in Korea, because obviously if you're here illegally, you will not be granted permission to buy property. What are the odds? Again, I get it. People become legends in their own minds. People think they heard something from somebody who heard something, and they think, just go to the immigration office. They'll know. They'll have information. No, they're going to tell you that you wasted a trip and to go see a Korean realtor. Why would you tell somebody to drive or travel 30, 40 minutes away, sometimes even longer, depending on where you live here in Korea, to go to an immigration office when you can talk to a realtor in your hometown where you live and find out the information? Why? Why would you do that? I mean, there's like 2 or 3 realtor offices across the street from the apartments that we live in, the apartment that I bought. Matter of fact, it's one of the realtors that we used in the process of buying this apartment that is in my name. I just walked 60 seconds across the street and boom, talk to a realtor. Yep, I know information. He says, yep, I've worked with foreigners in buying properties. It doesn't matter if you're a tourist visa, A3, F, ED, FG, whatever. Here's the packet. Here's the information. Need to get copies of your stuff. Sign, date, boom. Send it off. Next thing you know, you get permission to buy the property. You close on the deal, and it's done. Never had to go to Korean immigration. Ever. Wasn't recommended by the Korean lawyer, by the realtor. It wasn't recommended by any of the paperwork that we got back from the Korean government giving us permission. Nothing came and said we had to go to Korean immigration when, excuse me, when our property was registered, when the register was recorded, and when we finally got the title of the property that is in my name. Nothing ever said that we ever had to go to immigration or that immigration had any type of useful information in regards to this process of buying property in Korea, whether it's land or apartments, houses, villas, whatever. So, yeah, you got to know what you're talking about. And if you don't, obviously Rodney doesn't know me because I will call out the BS. If I know that I'm right and I can verify and show you proof that I'm right, and it's not that I'm right, it's that the information is right. Who cares about me? My wife and family does, but that's about it, okay? Other than that, it doesn't matter. What matters is getting the correct information to the person who asked for it. And telling people to go to Korean immigration is wrong. It's going to be a wasted trip. I don't know. Maybe that's his thing. But again, to a guy who's never bought property, never went through the process, obviously never talked to a Korean realtor or a Korean real estate lawyer, yeah, sure. Go to Korean immigration office. Ask them about how to buy property in Korea. Jeez, seriously. It amazes me. Totally amazes me. So anyway, with that said, that's all the drama that we have for today. So, again, just quick recap. You don't even have to be in Korea to buy property. You could be in another country and buy property in Korea. And you don't have to go to the immigration office. You can be in Korea on a tourist visa and you can buy property. And you don't have to go to the Korean immigration. You can be on any other type of visa here in Korea. You don't have to go to the Korean immigration office because they have no useful information. Just go to the local realtor. He has all the information. Buying real estate, I don't know. Maybe go see the realtor. What are the odds? What do you do?